I'd like to thank all of you for being part of my life, and it's been an honor and a privilege to really be attached to this company. I actually am in my 14th year. April begins my 15th year in ACN. I couldn't be more excited about our positioning today. As a matter of fact, I believe the first 15 years in our company has really been nothing but a setup. We are all set up and perfectly positioned to win. How many people feel great that you are positioned to win? Yes. And I truly believe that, when I take a look at ACN, when we started back in the early days and how we've kind of navigated through deregulation, and what a lot of you don't know was some of the attitudes that our co-founders had and the way they looked at ACN in terms of the goals, the company goals, and where they wanted ACN to wind up being in the scheme of deregulation. And in the first 7 years, a lot of you don't know this, they were running and trying to run a telecom company, and meanwhile they were all marketers. And in the year 2000, a lot of things changed. We brought a lot of the expertise into our company that raised the confidence levels. The attitudes changed in the field because now we were competing with the very best minds behind the scenes to really help us go to the next level in our company. And the confidence kept on growing. And now we are here today. This is the beginning of 2008, you could say. We're closing out real strong. And I can't think of any other time, maybe other than a couple months ago when I may have said this to some people, that I've ever been this excited about anything. In business. In business. I just had a baby boy, and I will tell you, I've never been more excited about that. But I am telling you that the magic word, probably the single most important word in the English language, is attitude. And I got to tell you that our attitudes are nothing more than a choice that we make every day. You see, my mentor told me a long time ago that if you want things to change, you need to change. If you want things to get better, you need to get better. If you want to have more in life, you need to become more in life. And nothing is either good or bad, but your thinking that makes it so. And so when I think about, the attitudes that we need to have in looking at our current ACN opportunity, I think of nothing more than the choices you're making daily. You see, everything that we do every single day is either adding to or taking away from our attitudes. The associations that we have, do they play a role in our attitudes, yes or no? I'll ask you some important questions. Who are you hanging out with? What do they got you thinking? What do they got you saying? How do they got you talking? What do they got you reading? What do they got you listening to? And you got to ask yourself a question, is the things that are being put in my mind in line with my goals? We all have to stand guard at the door of our mind. We have to determine what we let in, right? We decide what we let in. And so when I think about brand new people that are made up all throughout this room here, all throughout this session, we have brand new people. How many people here is their first international training event? Let me see your hands. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, what has happened to every single Circle of Champion member, okay, is the same thing that you're thinking about right now. Right now at this very moment. Will this work for me? Can I be an RVP? How soon can I be in the top 10? When am I going to be a team coordinator, a regional vice president, a senior vice president? We've all had these thoughts about, wanting to have the end result well before we earned it? How many people realize that your journey to success is nothing more than that? It's a journey. It's not a destination. As a matter of fact, Larry Raskin and all the leaders that I have trained, I teach them that you never arrive. It's an endless journey of contribution to the minds of the people that we can make a difference for. How many people want to be a difference maker? Yes or no? It's going to happen with a positive mental attitude. We make that choice every single solitary day. Our attitudes basically in ACN are determined by our expectations. Does everybody understand there's a law of expectation? Attitudes are determined not by what has happened yesterday, even though we come into ACN with baggage at times, right? Maybe it's been a poor childhood or something negative in your life, or some adults talking to you about why you can't do something, why it doesn't fit. Why would you ever think about making money? You know, a lot of these things have to do with our daily disciplines. I mean, here's the question that I would have for all of you. What are you doing every single day to work on your attitude? Let me tell you what I do. I work at it. How many people understand there are tapes and tools out there? There are books that you can read. You know, it's really funny. I'm coming out here today talking about how to develop the right mental attitude. And there's so many things that I and you have in terms of positive thinking. I'm sure that you have some library, whether it's a grand library, a small library. But you know, all I did today basically was Google developing a positive mental attitude. I wanted to see what the world had to say about positive mental attitudes. So regardless of whether or not you have the books, regardless of whether or not you have the tapes, regardless of whether or not you have anything that deals with doing something that's uncommon, the thing is, you need to do what I did. Do what successful people do, and eventually you may have what successful people have. And that's all by really working on the daily disciplines. How many people understand it's tough to break a bad habit? Yes? Do you know it's equally as tough to develop good habits? As a matter of fact, I would say that of all the people that are in this room right now, a good portion of you woke up pretty negative. Now, it didn't happen for long. There was doubt that was creeping in. There was worry that was creeping in. How many people have had a level of fear? Fear of success, fear of failure. And understand, that's a temporary situation. It's temporary until you make the move that day to change and adjust your attitude. You know, I think about standing guard at the door of my mind. I'm trying to say to myself today in talking to you, you know, if I was a new person and we come into, and we're talking to people and we have a list of people that we want to communicate to, and there's some people that try to rob us of our dreams. Will that happen even after this event, yes or no? Is it going to happen a year from now, 10 years from now? It's going to always happen. I remember an instance, and maybe you can relate to this, where I had a friend of mine who was saying some rather negative things at a meeting. And this is in Baltimore, where I grew my business in the beginning. I now live in Michigan. But in this particular meeting, I said to this guy, Joe, I said, step out of the room for a minute. And what he was doing was circumventing behind my back to mutual friends that we know. Let's see if this sounds familiar to you. And he was saying some things that were not in accordance with getting people interested in the business. As a matter of fact, it wasn't working out well for him. And he was saying, you know, by the way, Larry's probably going to call you, he's going to approach you. He's going to say a couple things about this phone thing. You know, and I got to tell you, it's really not working for me real well. You know, so I just want to let you know that he's going to be talking to you. And isn't it funny how when someone really doesn't have a healthy self-image and people that they're talking to do have a healthy self-image? That they don't realize that when they're talking about someone else, if it wasn't that person they were talking about, if they were talking to someone else other than you, they probably could be talking about you. Isn't that true? And so the bottom line is, the person he was talking to came to me and said, by the way, I want to let you know what Joe is saying. So I pulled him out of the room and I said to him, I said, Joe, I got to talk to you. I got to get this off my back. I said, I understand you've been talking to a couple people, and it hasn't been the kindest things about the business that you made a decision to do, and that this group is growing and the room is growing, we're exploding, but it's not happening for you. And you're talking to some people and you're not saying kind things. First question is, why are you here? But before answering that, I got to tell you this. If you mess with my business, Joe, you mess with my livelihood. If you mess with my livelihood, you mess with my family. And Joe, you need to hear me clearly. No one messes with my family. Are we clear? Now, I revealed to him the personal nature of how I feel about my business. Because my attitude is my emotions and my feelings that comes from my belief system. So if my belief system is right, if my vision for where my life is navigating is right on point, then it's going to show up in my attitude. Are we clear? There are some of you that say you have a great attitude. Remember, it comes from your beliefs and your internal philosophies on, do you really believe in the company, believe in the industry, believe in your own opportunity to do it well, right? Can I do it? Does it make sense? Will I be successful? That's where your attitude comes from. And if you are communicating to people and you're not communicating with the best people you could be communicating with, I'm going to tell you that you need to make an adjustment into your belief system. Because there's some of you that have this thought, you say this person's too successful, they're too busy, they wouldn't be interested in it. Let me tell you something right now. Anybody that wouldn't be interested in what we're doing, and what are we doing? We are pioneering visual technology for the next 50 years. ACN is the pioneering company. When you do any research, in the year 2025, if there's ever any research that's ever going to be done on visual video phone technology, right smack dab in the first paragraph, no later than the second paragraph, of all the companies that created that worldwide opportunity will be ACN Incorporated. That's my vision. That's my attitude. That's my belief system. My belief system tells me that if my belief is so strong, I cannot leave anyone out. There is no one that I can leave out. When my belief is strong, I get out of bed. I'm excited about it. I can't wait for the sun to come up tomorrow so I can do this thing all over again. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to suit up. And I'm going to talk my vision about where ACN is today to everyone that I come in contact with. There's a couple of reps out there, and I think it's one of the new regional vice presidents, Gaetan. Gaetan, I know you're in the room somewhere. He says, in his mind, I wonder who the lucky person that's going to talk to me today is. Now, let me say something to you about that. That's an attitude, yes or no? I'm going to tell you one thing right now. I feel very, very sorry for anybody that talks to me about ACN. As a matter of fact, they have no idea that they're in a battle. Because every day I walk out of my house, folks, I walk onto the battlefield. And I am telling you, that's what I do. I know what people are going to say. My attitude is, what could they say? I don't have the money, right? I don't have the money. If you don't have the money, what you're doing isn't working, right? I didn't know how bad you needed this opportunity. I would have talked to you a month ago. I didn't know that. We got all kinds of answers, don't we? I'm saying to you, your belief system is the thing that determines your attitude. And if you don't have the right attitude, then you got to be very, very conscious of who you're hanging out with and what you're putting in your mind and what you're reading. This is not a science. It is a very simple thing. Years ago, I wrote an article for one of the industry magazines called Be Prepared, Not Just Ready. And it wasn't tough for me to figure this out. They were the best people in the industry that were going to train on something that I wanted to be proficient at in the networking world. This is 20 years ago. And I recalled this story. And so what did I do? Because there was nothing happening in my area. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do it bad. There were people making more money per month than people were making in 2 and 3 years. And I couldn't believe that that kind of money would be made. But when I validated that it was being made, I made a decision. And the decision was this: I need to learn from the best people that I can. How many people want to learn from the best people that you can? Well, that's a decision. You need to understand that if you're not getting the opinion that you want, you got to look at the person that you're talking to. And you got to determine, do I want to live the life of the opinion that's coming at me? Do I want to live their paycheck? Do I want to live the way they think? Do I want to live what they drive and where they live? That's a question that you got to ask. But I got to tell you, I sat down in front of the best people in the industry. And I got to tell you, I remember Princeton, New Jersey. I'll never forget it. I was sitting there with 400 people that were making over $30,000 a month. And every one of those 400 people could invite one person that they wanted to bring to that particular event. It was a workshop. So I went there, and I had a really good first 2 to 3 weeks in the business. Sold a whole bunch of inventory because I was in an inventory-driven business. And so I'm sitting there and I'm taking notes, and someone taps me on the shoulder and says, "Oh, by the way, Larry, we're going to have you do a testimonial. I think it's coming up any minute." I said, "Oh, no. Oh, I can't do a testimonial. I really appreciate it. Larry Raskin." And let me tell you something. Anybody ever have their heart sink down to their stomach? Yes or no? This is my first time ever getting up in front of the room, in front of about 1,000 people, 700 to 1,000 people, and I stood up and I got up in front of the room because I really wanted to do this. I was shaking like a leaf. I didn't know what I said. This is how I did it. How many people's voices have ever quivered when you did a testimony the first time? I mean, if you'd have given me a glass full of ice cream, it'd have been a milkshake in 10 seconds. I mean, that's how much I was shaking. And when I sat down, I was totally disgusted. Because I felt I embarrassed myself. I felt inadequate. The people were like orators. They were professional speakers, and there I was, giving this pitiful testimony. But I knew that I needed to get better, and I knew that experience would do that for me. And all of a sudden, somebody put their hand on my shoulder, and I looked up. He says, "Hey, that was great, man. You really did a great job up there." I said, "Well, thanks. Appreciate it." "Hey, man, that was awesome." Oh, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Nice to meet you. Yeah. And as I got up for the break, there must have been 10 people that came up to me and said, "That was great." And then all of a sudden, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And what I took out of that room that particular day was simply this, is that not only do we have the ability to develop our own attitudes, but we have the ability to determine other people's attitudes. How many of you want to be a difference maker, really be a difference maker? Then find something good that someone else is doing and let them know about it. Praise progress. look for the good, lift people up. Isn't that what we do? Be someone special to someone else. See, having a great attitude is one thing. Helping other people develop their attitudes and their confidence and their expectation and their vision is a totally different thing. Yes or no? So we can be utilized in many different ways as leaders. But I got to tell you, after that first meeting of making that conscious decision to get around the best people I knew, after someone 20 years ago put a book in front of me to say, read this, and I wasn't a reader. Did you know before I read, I didn't read? Did you know that? Before I made a lot of money, I didn't. Now, I'll let you contemplate that. I'll let you think about that because you have some of these images in this room of yourself that, you know, I'm broke, I've never made any big money. How in the world could I make money? I got to let you know the Circle of Champions are made up of amusement park technicians, right? When I saw that one, I really got charged. I saw people that were personal trainers. We had some pretty good entrepreneurs that got involved, but all walks of life, those from Debbie Davis all the way up to, and Jeff Davis, all the way to Mike Masuti, the volleyball coach. And so let me ask you a question. If they never made any money, if they never had much success, then wouldn't you think that you're right on track for doing well? Did you just become included, or were you excluded from the possibilities of making it? It was inclusion, right? So you need to think about that, folks. We, every single day that I do my ACN business, I have got to determine for myself what kind of day it's going to be. And you know, I have 5 kids. 5. And I'm going to tell you something, and see, there's no response here in Salt Lake City. Big deal. Hey, honey, Raskin's got 5, we got 5. Let's fix that tonight. What can I tell you? But I want you to know something. I operate on purpose. How many people understand that your life has got to have a purpose, purpose-driven life? You want to pursue your purpose with passion, belief, conviction, right? And the only way that we can do that is on a daily basis, practice the daily disciplines. I want to give you some recommendations. May I do that? Because it is such a wonderful topic of attitude. But there are some people that have graced our stage that are personal development mentors of my life. People like John Maxwell. You like John Maxwell, everybody? I'm going to give you this information. Write it down, okay? It's called enjoy.com. Go to injoy.com. You'll get a weekly e-zine newsletter, and I'm going to let you know these are seeds of greatness. That if you meditate on this, your mind is like a garden. What you plant in your mind will manifest on the inside and eventually show up on the outside. Isn't that true? Now, that's one. John Maxwell. Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn is I love Jim Rohn, okay? He is phenomenal. Go to jimrohn.com. That's ROHN.com. Sign up for his e-zine newsletter. There's Chris Widener. That's WIDENER.com. And get his e-zine newsletter. Now, why am I telling you this? Because let me tell you what you can do with these e-zine newsletters. It starts with a P. You can hit what on your computer? You can print it. And I have volumes of newsletters, volumes. People say to me, wow, Larry, you know, I haven't heard that before. That's a great perspective, or that's a pretty neat story. Let me tell you something. I've never made up a story in my life. I have personal stories, But in terms of analogies and understanding, really how to explain things in a leadership way to where you can create students and a following, I didn't create that. I got to tell you, I became a student of the very best people that I could become a student of. I want you to understand this too, okay? As I just share this with you. You know, there was a pretty wise person that told me a story that I may have told before, and I think I did, but I think it's worth repeating. It's a story about some of you. As a matter of fact, it's not only a story about some of you, but it's a story about a lot of the people that you know. So let me tell you this story. There's these two old men that were sitting on a porch in the country, and on the porch was an old dog. And so they were sitting there one day, and the friend of the old man was noticing the dog. All the dog was doing on that porch was moaning and groaning. Moaning and groaning and moaning and groaning. And the old man and his friend turned to his friend, the old man, and said, he said, let me ask you this question. I've been here with you all day. He says, why is your dog moaning and groaning, moaning and groaning? And the old man replied, because he's sitting on a nail. And the guy looked at him, sitting on a nail? If he's sitting on a nail, why doesn't he just get up and move? And the old man replied, oh, it's because it doesn't hurt enough. I want you to hear this statement, and I want you to write it down because it's going to determine some directions that you may choose to take or not. Listen to the statement. Until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, you will never change. Until the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change, you will never, ever change. What does that mean? How is that like some of you? Some of you know you need to get off that nail, but what are you doing? You're just moaning and groaning, moaning and groaning, moaning and groaning. Look, folks, you have got to get up off that nail and stop being a whiny hiney. You got to let go of the nipple, take the thumb out of your mouth, and you need to get your life kick-started, because this is the greatest time ever in the history of ACN. Look at what we got coming. Did you hear the announcements? Did everybody hear the announcements today, yes or no? I mean, we're moving. We're not there yet. We're moving toward a free model in video phones. Our industry, of the video phone industry, is going to model what the cell phone industry did. You heard Robert and Greg and everybody talk about this stuff. I'm here to tell you, the cell phone industry exploded. The best indicator of future performance is past results. If you take a look at the cell phone industry and study it, the same exact thing is going to happen in visual communication. Yes or no? You take a look at MySpace and Facebook. You take a look at how many people want to put up a video of themselves and watch it all day. Isn't that amazing? They'll make videos, they'll create opinions, like they're some expert. They just do that to see themselves because they know it's the WWW, the World Wide Web. All that simply says is that it's a time to look at one another. Well, I'm not interested in that nonsense, a lot of the nonsense, but I know one thing. Here's what we've created. We've created a way that we can intimately look at our family and be in touch with the people that we care about. Is that an awesome thing? So you need to have the kind of attitude that matches the opportunity. This is the major league of opportunity. Just like Eminem said, lose yourself, man. If you had one shot, if you just had one shot, and this was it, you had one shot at big money, one shot at just absolutely reinventing your life, and this was it, how can you let Johnny Lunchbox take that away from you? How can you do that? You can't. And so I'm here to tell you, 14 years in this company, I'm in the field today. I'm no different than any other Circle of Champion member, any other President's Club member, any other regional vice president. As a matter of fact, I'm no different than any of you. The only thing that I can tell you is I have never been more excited. I have never been at a higher level in terms of a positive mental attitude. And I want you to join all of the leadership. Join our co-founders, join all of the top leadership in making a great difference in this world. And it starts with that attitude. Can we do it?